Hey, this is Man Made Mead. Our Shiraz wine is now past its fermentation. It finished all of its primary fermentation. Took about 10 days. And so we're at the point where we want to clear. Now to go ahead and clarify, we are at 14 days, which on my whole kit, it says to go ahead and go through this process starting at day number 14. And I want to go ahead and do that. So we're going to do a few things. We're going to stabilize today using potassium metabisulfite, a packet that was included in this. Then there's also potassium sorbate, which is also another stabilizer. This is in about every single commercial wine and commercial most anything now that's not. Most people use it. That's what I'm trying to say. Anyways, and the very last thing is, and I still can't say it, tried to say it before, Kieselsol something. It is another clearing agent. What we're going to do first, because this clearing process is pretty easy, frankly, we're simply going to take and rack it out of our main container that it fermented in and move it into this big old 6-gallon glass carboy that I recently moved everything else out of that was in it. So we're going to finish this out, and then we'll go through the process. So I need to rack this over first. I normally showed the process of me racking it over. In this case, I'm just gonna cut to it because you guys, I feel like I've seen me rack things over a million times. All right, so now we have our 6-gallon carboy that is full. You can see it's got a very nice purple, dark purple color. I can't lift it, so that's kind of why I'm changing the camera right now. And then this is what's left inside the bucket. And that's just a lot of dead yeast and probably some of the wood chips too down there at the bottom that we don't want to get inside of the mead itself, or not the mead, oh my lord, the wine itself. So the next step is going to be to take both of our potassium sorbate and potassium metabisulfite, both of them, and putting them straight into the wine itself to stabilize it. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and add first the potassium sorbate. We're going to add it at the same time, so it doesn't matter what order exactly. Basically, because this is our carboy, I can just pour it in and then we'll stir. And stirring for two reasons. Stir to degas it, degas the wine itself, and then stirring to, of course, introduce the potassium sorbate into this. And you can see, you might be able to see on there, there's a little activity. It's hard to see through the glass from the sorbate. This will stabilize the wine, making sure that basically there's no extra fermentation that happens, because the Lalvin EC1118 we used goes up to 18%. This did not reach 18%, so anything I would add later, like if I want to back sweeten it any, would just be fermented on. So the metabisulfite, I think I got it all, and the sorbate, we'll keep that from happening. Now I have a degassing wand here connected to a drill, and this is going to basically, it normally has 2 paddles, but one paddle saw its end. We're just going to lightly stir this, and as we do this, this is stirring in the potassium metabisulfite and sorbate, and also degassing. So I'm going to go ahead and stir for just a few minutes, kind of slowly. Okay, we have stirred both of our sorbate and sulfite into this. Next is to add the Kieselsol, which is part of our clearing. And we will, again, add this and then stir just a little bit, which this is a liquid, so it's very easy to pour in. But I want to do the same thing I just did a moment ago, which is stir. And after I'm done stirring, I'll tell you what the next step is. All right, so now this will sit for 24 hours with everything that we've put in. And then next, 24 hours from now, we will go ahead and add this chitosan. And this is going to be another clearing agent, another way for us to basically continue to stabilize it and make sure it stays where it's supposed to be. This is the last of our additives to put in. So now I will put my airlock back onto here, and then we're gonna wait 24 hours. So in a moment, you'll see us start to add the chitosan to this wine. All right, it has been about 24 hours, a little over actually, and we are ready to add the chitosan, which is again going to further help clear this, and it has been stabilized now with everything else we put in. So here's our chitosan, and I'm going to do the same thing I did before and need to stir this up a little bit. Now that we have stirred it up, you see a little degassing that's happened, which is great. This is going to sit for about 2 more weeks to start clearing, at which point I could bottle. However, what I'm going to do is actually let it age before I end up bottling it. So for right now, this is going to be how it sits, and then I will be back with an update on bottling. All right, it has been about 3 weeks since I really didn't anything last with this wine. We are ready to go ahead and start to bottle it. So here I have 12 bottles. I've got even more here. My hope is that I'll have enough wine bottles, of course, to make it through. What I'm going to have to do, because I've got a lot of tubing and I want this to go quickly, I'm using my auto siphon. And on the end of my auto siphon, my long auto siphon is this racking or bottling wand, which has a little plastic tip at the end that presses down and allows us to stop the wine from going in whenever we're ready. And so we have kind of control of how much goes in each bottle. So I'm going to end up putting this down on the ground because gravity will help the wine as it flows down. So this will flow down into there. And hopefully in just a few minutes, I'm not going to document the whole process. I'm going to end up just moving all of this into my bottles. So I will be back in a moment. The process is really simple for anyone interested. You stick this in, and then using the bottling wand, this will fill up each bottle to basically as high as I need to. At that point, I will lift it up and then move on to the next bottle. We'll see how many bottles of wine I get at the end of this. So I will be back in just a few minutes with some results. All right, so in total, I was able to get about, let's see, 15, 23, about 27 wine bottles out of this, really what was close to about a 5 gallon batch, 5.5 maybe, that was in this carboy. Obviously there's some at the bottom that I didn't want to get because there's just sludge and stuff that is not really useful. The next step is going to be to cork them. Now, this is my floor corker. And the floor corker is really easy to use. In fact, I'll do an example one to show you what I do. I always use synthetic corks. I really like them. So these are my synthetic corks that I use. And then I dip them in water. And then I put the cork in here, of course, and shove it all down, and it works well. So let me give you an example of what I'm going to do. And then, again, I won't document the whole process, but here's my example piece of doing one of these wine bottles. All right, so I'm going to get one of my corks. Dip it in my water. This just helps the cork go in. This is also sanitized water, I might add. It's not just random water. Gonna put it right there. And then push this down. Floor corker is great. I need to put it on a piece of wood. Ultimately, I haven't done that yet, but I will at some point. Press down and it easily puts the cork in. So we're left with this right here, a very flat top. This is way better in my opinion than using a hand corker, because the hand corker, when you get to this top portion, it likes to put a weird indentation, at least for my hand corker I bought. Now that's not to say all hand corkers are bad, but mine's not great. I also spilled a little wine on some of these bottles, so as I'm going through, I'll dry them off, because after I cork them all, I'm going to put my labels on. So let me finish corking these, and then I will be right back with the labeling process. All right, so these have been wiped off and they are corked. I am ready to go ahead and put my labels on. So my labels are this, I've designed them, I had somebody design them for me, and this is one of my different styles. So they are going to basically just fit on just like that. It has all of my information on it, being a Shiraz wine, water, Syrah grapes and yeast, aged with medium oak. The Shiraz displays a mix of blackberry, spice, and chocolate. Dry and medium bodied, and this is just a nice way for me to make these look better. So I'm gonna go ahead and put all my labels on, and then I have one last thing I'll do, and I'll get to it in a moment, and that is putting a little shrink wrap on top of these, and I'll have to seal those around, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But one day I'll get into a bigger video about my labels and kind of how I design them. But for now, I'm just gonna put one on, for example, show you what I do. I figured out with my labels, you have to put it on, do the sides first. It's a little harder for beer bottles. Wine bottles are easy because they're flat. And then, that one's a little sideways because I am a little sideways right now. So the rest will hopefully be straight, and I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So I'll be back in a moment with these all labeled. All right, so I have gone ahead and put the labels on all of them, as you can see. The next step is to go ahead and put the shrink wrap. So my preferred method of doing this is taking boiling water, and I hold the little top of the shrink wrap. I'm wearing a glove to protect my hands, and I basically just dip it straight in, and it seals it. Just like that, it's sealed all the way around. And then of course I'll take a rag or something and just wipe it off to get the extra water. So I will do that with all of these, and I'll be back in a moment. All right, so that's it. That's the end of this video. Here's my wine bottle. As you can see, it looks pretty good in my opinion. I think the shrink wrap matches the label well, and the label, I really like it too. I had some help with it, of course. But this is my first wine. I'm really excited for it. I want to let it age too. Part of it is while it's ready to drink, quote, it could use some age. Time will help it honestly mature, be better, and just like every wine, we know wine gets better, good wines get better with age. So hopefully I've made a good wine that in a year from now it'll be good. That's not to say I won't drink it soon. In fact, I do have plans to try some of these again because I haven't drank a lot of it, and I really want to try it, especially as it ages. Some will be gifts to people. Some will just be having people over and trying some. Big thing is I want to share my creation, and I think you should share yours too if you are making it, because you can help entice people to make wine, mead, beer, any of these alcohols that are very fun to make and important. So I highly encourage you to try that. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. I would love to hear what you have to say about your experiences making wine, or your experiences making mead or beer, anything like that, because ultimately I want to learn from your mistakes, just like hopefully you've learned from mine. Some of my mistakes today were really centered around, I had the wrong size tubing for things, and so I kind of had to improvise. But I was able to get everything into here. I've got a plethora of bottles now that are going to be put away, stored for a while, and it'll be good. So hopefully you learned something from this. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Check out my links down below. The big one I want to promote, or big two, are my Facebook, where we have a big community of mead makers, and hopefully now wine makers and beer makers we get to talk about making mead, wine, beer, all of these things, and just again, learn from people's mistakes, but also just have a great community. There's also a Patreon that supports me directly, and that helps me continue to make more videos, hopefully upgrade my equipment, and be able to just do this without having to kind of go way into the hole, because obviously this is not my job. This is a very fun hobby of mine, and hopefully a career that I could go into, but I need to continue to get better experience from it. So check that out below. You get access to live streams, you get access to my videos early. You also there's a big wall that if you're a $5 patron, you get your name put on my wall over here. A lot of really cool stuff on there. There's also a Society 6, which is, this is one of my shirts from it. You can support me by buying a shirt, and that's down below, and a P.O. box, a bunch of other things. I want to say thank you so much for just watching this video. It means a lot to have an audience, and this would not be nearly as fun if I didn't have an audience. Yes, it's fun to make this stuff, but obviously if I didn't have an audience, I wouldn't put a camera in front of my face. So thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe and hit that bell. I've had a lot of issues with YouTube recently in that they don't push videos. They haven't pushed my videos as much, and I don't know what to do about it other than to say hit that bell so you know when I upload, because sometimes they don't hit that subscriber box, which is really interesting and kind of a bummer. So check those links down below. Thanks for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day, and go drink some wine. Cheers.